So we're still not finished in this area. I have to pull this out of here, and there's a pipe that we've got to undo. So this pipe here, I've already taken the clip off and already undone the pipe. Couldn't really do it with the camera on. So I pulled it out, and it is actually split too, so that needs replacing, that does. But yeah, it's just here on top of the water pump. So if you undo that pipe, we need to undo that to get the cylinder head bolt out, which is just there, otherwise it isn't going to come out, it gets stuck. And we do actually have another pipe that is very close to that pipe that we still haven't unplugged. So we're going to do that now. That's the pipe there. There we go. So there's not much for us to do now. We've got about 4 or 5 more things to do. We need to undo this 3mm Allen key here. There we go, that's been undone. What we need to do is undo the lambda sensor wire, which is here. That's it. Just there, and I don't know if there's a good enough lighting for you to be able to see this. I'm going to zoom it in. This is it here, this red little tab. So what you're going to do is just unplug it. There we go. That's it. So now that that's unplugged, we need to feed it through the rubber housing. What I'm going to do is put some oil on the back of it here. Here it is, so it just slots through here. And now usually it's really annoying to get through, but someone slit this because there's 2 wires that go in. One's for the fan and one's for the lambda sensor, so someone's actually split it to make it a bit more easier to pull it through, and then the WD, well, oil, helps. So that's just come straight out of there. So if you get stuck, there's no harm in just splitting that to get it out. It's better than you ripping the wire out of there, isn't it? So we're going to actually remove the nut off one of the first bolts that holds the engine in, and what we're going to be doing now is removing the nuts or making them loose, and then we're going to put the jack underneath and brace the engine. So you can give it a bit of a spray. Yeah. And what I'm going to do is, I don't have an impact with me, which normally I just use an impact, but I'm just going to use the 14 with a rubber mallet. I'm just going to tap it. There we go. I know it's no good for the mallet, I mean for the ratchet mechanism, but it's the only spanner I've got, and that's now loose. So now the bottom engine bolt is loose, and we're now going to do this engine bolt, which is just here. I usually have this pipe in the way. It's from the battery. That's it there. So that is also 14mm. I'm just going to give it a bit of a spray. So what I'm going to have to do is put something on the other side. So it is a bit handy if you've got a friend, because you've got 2 ratchets to be using now. But it is possible, like so. That wasn't meant to happen. And now I'm going to revert back to this other bolt, which is just here. And on the opposite side, I'm going to put this socket on. There. And then I'm going to undo the rest of this bolt. We've got the top bolt to do. So I'm going to undo the nut. So I'll put this on here. And you give it a good little tap. Like so. And now, because both of the other nuts are undone, hopefully the engine weight is going to allow me to just keep on doing it without gripping the other side of the 14. And that seems to have happened, so that's nice. Oh, happened for a second. It's alright, I've got it anyway. There it is. I'm actually going to proceed now with just taking this bolt out at the top because we've got the other two in. So as you take this bolt out at the top, the best way to approach this is going to be either putting a jack under it now, just taking the weight off the bolt, or you can put your hand under the cylinder head, which is normally what I do, and I just lift it up a tiny bit, and then I just poke the bolt with my other hand, and then it just pings out the top. This is quite fiddly, you see, because you can't put anything on the side to tap it out. So here's the bolt. I'm going to have to do it on an awkward way so you guys can all see it. So I'm doing it the opposite way as I would. So I'm going to lift the engine a tiny bit. And I'm going to... There we go. I just pressed it then. It fired out. That's it. And now I've let go of the engine. So we're going to pull these two bolts out when the jack's set up. Once the bolts are out, we're going to loosen the jack slightly. So it's going to slowly drop, which I normally have like an engine stand. That's at my other unit, so I'm just going to use just a normal jack. The engine one's a bit more convenient, so you can just undo it with the gun gently and it comes down. On this one I've got to mess about with the ram manually. So I've got my jack set up. I'm going to put an extra pad underneath it so none of the metal touches the alley. Or if you've got a bit of wood, it's a bit better. And what we're going to do is we're going to do it right in the middle of the two crankcases. And there we go, I've just took a lot of tension off. Now this bottom bolt has already started to push through. Let's just come straight out. I'm going to grab it from the other side if I can. There it is. Now there's where the other bolt is. I'm filming it now with one hand. There we go, the bolt's just sliding straight out. And that was it, that's just dropped. So now all the main significant bolts are out of the engine. So now we're going to actually drop the engine out. Alright, what I'm going to do, give this a bit of a wobble to make sure it feels quite free. I'm going to slowly loosen the jack. Now this is a new jack, so I'm not quite sure. There we go. So now the jack's actually a bit free underneath it. So what it's done is it's rest on the back of this crankcase just here. So what you need to do is shift the engine across a tiny bit. Like that. That is exactly what we need to do. And I'm going to slowly do the jack again. I'm going to a bit more forward. There we go. And I'm going to slowly turn the jack. Now we can see it nice and gently dropping out. Like so. Now I've locked the jack off. I've got it in situ still. And currently I'm just going to check that all the items are undone. And it seems that way, so I think we're clear now to drop it out. I'm just going to chuck it onto here. There we go. There's the motor. So the motor's out now. It went okay, there was no stuck wiser out. With it being such a small engine, it's quite easy, you don't really need two of you. So here's the new motor that's going in it. Cosmetically it's quite fresh, so usually we have a lot of surface corrosion, but this one's decent. As you can see, we are missing this top rad pipe, and I'm going to just have a quick examination between the two if there's any other bits missing. So you also need to make sure you've got the seal for the starter motor, and sometimes you can actually have a different temp sensor. Now this one is exactly the same, so you do need to take that into account and just have a quick look before you fit the engine. It's not too bad of an issue if you've got to change that while it's in situ once it's fitted. And also the lambda sensor can be different too, so it's a good job we just mentioned that, because if you look at this, this is actually a different plug. And here is the plug of the original. So this lambda sensor needs to be now taken out of this cylinder head and swapped around with this one. It's not a big deal. So there's a few more things with these engines that you need to consider. So this engine actually has the bit on the crankcase where it reads the speed. Now this is 2014, it's not a 2014 model, but 2014 models need this to be able to read the speed if it's non-ABS. So if you just bought an engine and it has this here at the top and yours is a 2014, you're not going to be able to read your speed. So as you can see, that's not been machined, so your sensor can't fit in there. So if you've got a 2014 model, you really need to just clarify on the photos that your speed sensor is also going to be able to fit in on your new engine. So I've got both the engines side by side now, because we're just going to switch over the lambda sensors. So I'm going to just get my 17, and I'm going to put it right here. I'm just going to give it a bit of a twat, it should be alright. So a lot of people don't know this, but the neck of this cylinder heads can be different too, which this is. So this has got a smaller neck and this is a bigger neck. This is not going to affect fitting the exhaust. It's only like half an inch difference, and it will just flex around usually. So they're both the same, the exhaust are still. What you're going to do is you're going to put your 17mm spanner on here, like that, and then we're just going to twat it off, pretty much. So if you put it on and just give it a good, there you go. And if it's seized, you might have to get a bit of heat, but usually they do come out quite okay, just like this one. There we go. Now we're going to jump onto this one now. There we go. And now this is going to be the new cylinder head, so you're going to wipe any dirt off. That's just there where the washable mate with it. Then put this sensor back in on the sensor. Yep, so that's tight now. Just going to give it a bit of a turn. There we go, that's tight. And what I'm going to do is when it's back in the chassis, I'm just going to check it's tight, because obviously there's movement